If you main Acrocanthosaurus, you're trying way too hard to be different. But at the same time, you recognize that Acro is your favorite dinosaur and you will do anything in your power to play as it, regardless of the quality of the model and animations, for which this is suffering from greatly. Let's be honest, you're waiting for the Absentia mod, or like the 7 other Acro mods. Jesus Christ, why are there so many? If you choose Dilophosaurus, you probably went for the safest option when it came to the smaller carnivores. Dilo isn't the most popular choice by any means, but it's still good nonetheless. Okay, look, this isn't meant to be a hit piece. I love Therizinosaurus as much as the next guy, but if you main this guy in Path of Titans, you're painfully aware that they just really borrowed heavily from the Isle's original Therizinosaurus, and the jokes you make about Theri are about as old as Isle legacy in general, so. If you pick Sachikosaurus as your main in this game, you just really wish that there was more stuff to do as a strict aquatic. Okay, I'm supposed to say something like a smartass, okay. Anyway, if you, for some reason, pick Velociraptor as your main, you have an uncomfortable attraction to Velocity as a person. You're also essentially a T-Rex player, but you prefer to be small. Look back to the previous video made as a reference point. Okay, look, if you main Tyrannus in Path of Titans, I can't really think of a smartass thing to say about you. It's my favorite dinosaur in general, so automatically you're based. On a bit of a more serious note, you just really like to hang out with friends and you like to help them out when they get themselves into trouble. And whether that's detrimental to the entire server you're playing on is a bit of a specific circumstance, like a mega pack of carnivores or something.
You wanted a stereotype for this one. I hate to break it to you, but nobody plays the Carnotaurus anymore. Even before Cryptops came back, Pycnonemes completely made this creature invalid. And now Cryptops has made both of them invalid. Really, anyone who still plays it is either new and doesn't realize that it's been outclassed already, or is someone who played it before Pycno was added to the game, and is just hoping that the PT devs will give it some love and put it back on top as the Abelisaurid. But until then, cope.
For this one, you're just wondering why they decided to just bring it back into the mod menu and then just completely abandon it the next day. Like, come on, man, at least give us another good Ceratopsian. We need one of those. If you liked Sussex before it was removed from the mod list, then you like to be ugly and proud. That being said, you judged a book by its cover, and you died every single time you tried to play as this thing. Alright, so fuck me, I guess. Apparently Sussex is already back on the mod page as I was making this video. Huh, crazy things do happen.
If you play Giganotosaurus, you are food for these. Alright, all jokes aside, Giganotosaurus is the most respectable apex to play. You're not exactly helpless, but you're not extensively overpowered like Rex or Spino. You're threatening on your own, but truly afraid to see if you're in a pair, which is how apexes should work. You're still food, though.
If you liked any of these creatures, you were into the wacky and weird. But you're also wondering why they're in a fucking dinosaur game. You also hate the idea of having a fun video game, as you were well aware of the overpowered stats, and you abuse them maliciously.
Cryptops is everything Pycno, Pachy, and Carno wish they were. You are fast with a decent stamina pool, good turning radius, and high damage. But above all else, your charge does bone break, which is the most overpowered mechanic in this game, and you know it. But you prefer to play passively. You wait on the sidelines of the fight, looking for the weak link who moves away to heal, and when you see them, you rush in with a charge and finish them off while they're broken. Unfortunately, your judgment is off, and you usually get yourself into hot water with a very angry group who's desperately trying to defend their friend. The only other thing you can think of is how your model and animations are pretty mid, but compared to the rest of Divine Beast output, you're probably a lot better than you think you are. You wish you could run EVRIMA. Jokes aside, Primordial Tyrants Utahraptor is pretty mid, but you don't care. You're just there to have a good time as your chosen dinosaur, and it's a lot better than the official Raptors, to be sure. Though, it's not that memorable. When it's not available, you probably pick EVRIMA. Willingly playing Argentinosaurus tells everybody in the server one thing about you. You are mentally 5 years old. You're spiteful, impulsive, and revenge hungry. You only switched to this animal because you died one too many times as your actual favorite, Tyrannosaurus Rex, and came back as this thing to hopefully get revenge on the mean old Serrata group that killed you one too many times. Unfortunately for you, speed is more important than power in this game, and you can never catch anybody unless they're completely AFK. The only people you threaten are other Argents, and you look about as old as you act.
If you main Deinosuchus, you're basically the XL version of a Sarcosuchus main. You hinted at being a Florida man, but now you just have Florida written all over you. You enjoy going over to a river or a lake where you just love to pet alligators or wrestle them, whatever you do. I don't actually live in Florida. Not to mention, whatever you do there, you do it with banjo music playing in the background. Strangely enough, it seems the Deinosuchus mains seem to fall in this one weird spot. They either actually want to act like an alligator and jump and give players a heart attack every time a Deinosuchus jumps out of the river, or they're outside of the river and just at the banks, care-bearing the wrecks that got harassed by Ceratosaurus groups.
Alright, before I get into the stereotype, I want to say my own personal opinion about the Smilodon. I think it is an inspiring display. This is a new creator's first ever mod and their first ever time developing anything. The fact that it even exists is a goal that most creators don't reach, either because they run out of time, they get discouraged, or some other thing. The fact that it exists is a win for this individual's creative career, and I hope that they make more. Now for the stereotype. Unfortunately, people who play this creature know that it's bad, but don't care. They just want to piss everybody off, because as much as they can't hit you, you can't hit them, and they know it. Occasionally they'll land a hit or two, but you'll never seem to be able to catch them. That being said, not a lot of people play the Smilodon anymore. Most have gone to the Asylum Feline, because it does something very important. It offers consistency. You are far more likely to hit your target as the feline than you are as this.
Picking the Colombian mammoth as your main means that you have a high appreciation for all things Cenozoic. All in all, this mammoth might be an immersion break for some, but honestly, it creates a whole new immersion. Sort of a sci-fi sort of thing, if you know what I'm saying. You're also likely the most passive one in the herd, and you're the one that'll make the argument that herbivores aren't overly aggressive, which they are in real life. You just don't accept it.
Zuchin Tyrannus used to be one of the scariest things to see coming. It was the Carnivore Edition mod back in the day. If you saw one coming, you either had the choice to run, or you were about to have the most harrowing fight of your life. Nowadays, it is largely outclassed even by base game creatures, and newer additions such as Yangchuanosaurus have made it largely invalid. If you still see one hanging around, that person is fairly competent, but probably would have been better off picking Dyspletosaurus. That being said, they are still the most respectable Tyrannosaurid players, if you can call Tyrannosaurid players respectable, because they never are. You know, Karka's in a really weird spot. By all accounts, it is an Apex, but it really doesn't have the stats of one. While it's not fast, which is what you would expect, it also doesn't have great stamina and can't really endurance hunt anything. It has all the abilities and the attack damage, but it doesn't have the health to back it up. And for whatever reason, it has the Beast of Bermuda's Acro debuff roar, which is weird. As far as the people who play it, Care Bears. Hard Care Bears. Especially the ones who use the feathered model, they're just Care Bears. They'll hang out with anyone and anything, and they'll just sit around talking in global or local or group chat and not really playing the game, only getting up to eat or drink. But the moment you attack anything in their sightline, even if it's not part of their little Care Bear circle, they will hunt you down. They will do everything in their power to rush you down and kill you, and usually everyone near them will follow, because they're the nice Karka who protected them before. It's weird. I can't even be mad at it. It's just weird.
Okay, I don't actually have anything clever to say about this one. Just like the dinosaur itself, you were put on this earth to annoy everybody. Literally Metri mains, but smaller. Being the Quetzalcoatlus main that you are just happy that there is yet another flying creature in this game besides the Lacidromius, and you can actually do stuff. That is, if Primordial Tyrants doesn't take away each and every move you have that would actually make you useful in the air. PT. Anyway. Adding to it, you're also that one guy in their Discord just spamming that one clip from Prehistoric Planet where the Quetzes are harassing that Rex in order to prove that they can bite in the air. But unfortunately, you are ignored, as I guess they're waiting for Hetzegopters to be added to also bite in the air, which will probably happen. Anyway, I don't know. They're good, but sometimes PT's freaking weird, man. Wow, a good Hadrosaur. This is amazing. That being said, being a Paramain, you are aware that you're not Superman. You're not going to be able to fight every carnivore horde in Impact Crater off, and you are eventually going to die from some carnivore. But you know what? You don't care. You're actually happy that you're able to fight back against carnivores as any sort of Hadrosaur. You're also probably the noisy kid in the classroom. If your main and path is the Matterhorn...
Oh my god, guys, it's Gamma! Holy, she's in a video game again! Holy shit, it's Gamma! Oh my god! If you main Noviana, first things first, Ophis mains despise you. Ever since you've been added to the game, they've been largely forgotten, and you end up in more servers than they do. That being said, even with the remodel that makes it arguably cooler, you're still furry or scaly. And while that's not inherently bad, you do participate in rather unfun behavior, such as care bearing. Sadly for you, Noviana is about as threatening as a fresh spawned Camptosaurus, and dies just as fast. If you still play Ophis, you're one of two people. You're either the person who misses when it was the better semi-aquatic to play than everything else, or you're a Monster Hunter fan, and make really bad jokes about how it's just LAGIACRUS. Yangchuanosaurus is everything Allosaurus should have been. Strong, reliable, decently fast, good stamina, and tanky. People who play it know this, and are fairly scary in a fight. If you go up against them, you better pull out every inch of skill you have, or you will be steamrolled. Usually these guys are fairly respectable. They keep to themselves, don't often engage in chat, but are reciprocal to a GG. I like these guys.
Picking Edmontosaurus means that you are basically done with everybody's shit. You don't touch the smaller species with a 10-foot pole, and you always stick to the big guns, because you know it's gonna kick some major ass. Funnily enough, I don't really see any Edmonto players that revenge kill. They just pick this guy because it's one of the few herbivores that can actually stand a good chance against apex predators, so yeah, these guys aren't the worst. Having Amplisaurus as your main, you love being the tank in the herd. You want everything to come after you, and you bowl over everything. If they aren't apexes, of course. Let's be honest for a second. Your next dinosaur that you pick after you die, this thing is going to be RG anyway, so...
Anthomnia's OC itself. I can't lie and say I wasn't a little excited for the release of the Nyctotyrannus, as I had grown up hearing about its development back in the earliest days of the Isle. But now that it's here, it's unfortunate that a large portion of the people who still play it use it as a vehicle to push their own OCs, which feels pretty disrespectful. But it's not as bad as the mains. See, the mains, while they aren't good at the game and can't even hunt a lone Camptosaurus, are the type of players who follow clan mentality. They'll group up with anything and everything, and I do mean everything. Promise you, if you friendly crouch at one, they will think you want to group up. They don't care what you are, if you're herbivore, carnivore, small, large, medium. It will group up with you, and they will use that group size to hunt down the entire server.
If you pick Golugor as your main,
Holy shit, it's time!
Picking Unanosaurus tells everybody in this server that you're not afraid to get your hands dirty. You're likely a pro wrestler in real life, and it shows in-game. You're just wishing for the day that you could RKO a T-Rex. Unfortunately, you can't seem to escape from people that keep calling you a corn dog. Cause, well, dude looks like he's about to teeter over every time he gets up in the morning.
As stated in the Smilodon stereotype, the Asylum Feline offers consistency. Its hitboxes will always land so long as you make physical contact with your target, and its hurtboxes are reliable enough that fighting one is fun. That being said, Asylum Feline players are weirdly aggressive. They'll usually charge out of tree lines or bushes, and usually travel in pairs. They attack anything and everything, even if it's significantly larger than them or their target is at full health. Though, their game sense is actually really good. While they might attack things that they really shouldn't, they're also aware when a player is decently competent at battling small things, and will back out before they die. It can get a little annoying, considering you will never finish them, but if it's any consolation, they'll never kill you.